Hi, this is a video for COMP442 or 6421 compiler design. This is the first video of the semester, so this is week 1. And the topic of this video is to introduce the course. As you may have seen, well, maybe we can go to Modal for the course. Here. So I will do just a quick presentation of the Moodle page, and then we'll revert to the slides I have prepared to introduce the course. So here's the Moodle page. So this is the contact information for everyone involved in the course. This is myself, the instructor, Joey Paquette. And then there is the lab instructors and markers, which are Hamid Jafarpour and Vashish Marwa. As you may know, in the beginning of this semester, we're going to have to start online. So here you have the Zoom links for all the lecture sessions or lab sessions. So for every of the lectures, for I believe all at least the first three weeks of the course, we will proceed online on Zoom. I'll explain that a little bit later when I switch the slides. And then for each of the different weeks, I have actually posted already the slides and the videos for those that I already have that I did last year. The videos are already there. I may or may not re-record some of the videos. So, but they would not, even if I re-record them, they would not be very different from what I had last year. So yeah, so you have most of all the material already available if you want to fast forward and look ahead in time. You may also see that there is my instructor's course webpage that is here. That is essentially showing exactly the same information. So don't expect there's more or less things appearing here. It's exactly the same thing. I just designed my own webpage for every course that I'm teaching so that they are publicly available in time. Like, for example, if you go here, you see all the courses I've ever taught. Many of them have their own webpage. So if you want to look back in time of what I used to teach and so on, feel free to do. And if you want to see material that I'm covering in other courses, go ahead. So you see that I've been teaching this course, I believe 19 times at this point since I started. And so the courses I'm teaching are basically revolving around the notion of design or use of programming languages. I've taught also a little bit of software engineering courses, but mostly, again, from the perspective of how to use programming languages in a software engineering context. Okay, so let's go back to, the slides I have prepared for this lecture. Okay. So this first slide set, as you will find it on the first week in the Moodle page, covers both the introduction to the course in general, as well as introduction to the compilation process. This video is first of the two for this week, which is presenting only these three. We have pointer here. Okay. So this first video is presenting the course description, project description, and online teaching. The second video for this week is presenting the introduction to compilation. Okay. So here's my own introduction, as I just did a little bit. So my name is Joey Paquette. So I'm here, a associate professor in the Department of Computer Science and Software Engineering. I'm teaching mostly courses that relate to programming languages, either implementation of programming languages in terms of compiler design, or how to somehow use programming languages, various programming languages. My research topics also relate to the same design implementation of programming languages, in particular parallel or distributed computing programming languages or paradigms, demand-driven computation models, or context-driven computation models. If you want to reach me, you may use my email address here, the CSE email address, or the Concordia email address, joey.paquette@concordia.ca. All of these addresses that you may find about me, they all funnel into the same place. So it doesn't matter really which one you're using, I'm going to get your email. My office, new office in the AR building is in the 11th floor, office number 49. So later on in the semester, I suppose I'm going to go back to my office, hopefully. And if you want to meet me in person, I'm going to be there. Of course, I tend to, since we are online, I tend to stay at home as much as possible. But last semester, I had taken the habit back to go back to my office. So if you want to meet me, for example, during the office hours, if we are going back, I'm going to be in my office. Even though I'm going to have Zoom office hours, I'm going to be in my office. So if you want to pop up in my office and have a discussion in person, please feel free to do so. I will announce in class if and when I will actually go back to my office. I'm going to give some little bit more description about what's going to happen versus online teaching and so on with the COVID situation right away after this. First of all, well, this is the official description for this course. So you might know that this is a cross-listed course. So what that means is that there is COMP442, which is for undergraduate students, and there's COMP441, which is for graduate students. Now, in general, there is a difference between the two, the graduate and undergraduate version. In this particular case, I chose to not have any difference. So whether you're an undergraduate or graduate student, you will be doing the same work, and you'll be graded in the same way, as I will explain later. If you're an undergraduate student, then you need to have either of these three courses, which is basically low-level programming that we need in order to do the code generation for the compiler. There's the COMP335, which is theoretical computer science, as the compiler is somehow making use of the theory that you've learned in such a course. And then there is COMP352, which is data structures, which we also heavily use in this course. Okay, so here's my own description for the course. So what's the topic of this course? So we're going to see here how a compiler is organized as well as implemented. The way I'm organizing the course is that, to me, this course is based on the fact that you have to do a project, which is implementation of all the phases of the compiler, mostly all the phases, in a somehow simplified way. There are some phases that we will not do, such as optimization, for example. So you have to, do from, as I will say later, you have to implement a lexical analyzer, syntax analyzer, generate an intermediate representation, which is an abstract syntax tree in our case, and then do the semantic checking, and then finally the code generation. So the lectures will essentially show, from the perspective of what we do in the project, to show and explain how it should be organized and how it actually should work. So the lectures are heavily related to what you have to do in the project, to give you background on how it's supposed to work theoretically and practically so that you can actually implement it. So you have to essentially design and implement here I'm saying a simple compiler. That does not mean that this is a simple project. What it means is that in real life, a compiler is a much more complicated program than what we will do in the course. Not to say that it is not representative of how it's done in real life, but there are many aspects of a programming language and its implementation that we will skip in this course, of course, because we don't have enough time to do everything in a single semester. And as I just said before, the lectures, you should expect that almost all the lectures will be related to what you have to do in the project. For the grading, well, it's based mostly on the project, which is these two first grading elements here. And then there is, the grading is based on both the project, which is 5 assignments, and the final project presentation, as well as a final examination. So essentially, the project is divided in 5 parts. And then you have to incrementally develop each of these 5 parts. And then you deliver each of the 5 parts in time. So you might want to look at the Modal page. All the deadlines for each of the different assignments are already written on the Modal page. So I invite you to have a look and see that there are 5 assignments, and then they're coming very quickly. Okay. That's one thing, as I will highlight later when I talk about the project. This is a very intensive project. This is an individual project. So you may have talked with other students about this course. They might have told you that this is a course that is very heavy in terms of work. Yes, this is true. I would say that this is, among all the courses that we have, is one of the most work-heavy courses. It's not necessarily extremely difficult course, but it's a course where you have to, there's a lot of work to be done in terms of implementation, in terms of coding. So yeah, so you have 5 different assignments for a total of 40%. Each of the 5 assignments are worth the same percentage, which is in this case 8%. Then at the end, you have to do a presentation of the whole project in a single presentation, which is worth 30%. So you see that the project, if you total these two, the project is worth 70% of the mark, which is a lot, which is representative of how much work it is. And then finally, at the end of the course, you will have a final examination, which will test you upon your knowledge of the material as presented in class. Okay. So this course is also, yes, it's about the practical implementation of the compiler, but it's also showing you what is the theory behind it. That's what actually is tested in the final examination. So for the letter grading scheme, the main thing that's important to understand here, especially for graduate students that are taking 6421, is that everybody in the class, either graduate or undergraduate, is graded the same. So for undergraduate students, you might or may not know, but as you are a graduate student, the only grades that you can get is A+, A minus, B+, B minus, or F. There's no such thing as variations of C, and there's no such thing as D. So in this course, what that means is that, depending on what is your numeric grade, an undergraduate student that has a certain numeric grade, which result in B minus, that would result in another student that might have exactly the same numeric grade to also get B minus. So that means if you get a numeric grade as a graduate student that corresponds to C- for an undergraduate student, you would get C. So depending on how you see it, you might think, well, this is giving an advantage or a disadvantage to graduate students. Fact of the matter is that this is what it is. And then, so this is how I'm grading students across these two different populations. Okay. How do I calculate what are the letter grades corresponding to the numeric grades? It's very important to realize that there's no fixed grading scheme. For example, there's no such thing as A+ is 85 and plus, A is 90 and plus, and so on. There's no such thing. The way I'm computing the letter grades corresponding to numeric grades is that I compute the class average at the end, and then somehow I draw some kind of normal curve where the top of the normal curve corresponds to the class average, which corresponds to somehow a B. Okay. So we can discuss this in class if you have some more questions. So here we go and describing, briefly describing the project. What is it the project consists in? So here you have what you have to do is to design and code a simple compiler. Again, simple not in the sense that this is a simple program. It's very far from being a simple program, but in terms of a compiler compared to industrial level compilers, it is indeed a very simple compiler. So this is very important to understand. This is individual work. It is a large project. Even if it would be a team project, it would still be considered, at least by me, a large project. But you have to do individually. Okay. There's no such thing as a team. I will not accept teams. Every project is an individual project. It is divided in 5 assignments. First, lexical analysis. Second, syntactic analysis. Third, abstract syntax tree generation. Fourth, semantic analysis. And fifth, and last, code generation. So I invite you to look at the deadline for each of these, and you will see that almost every 2 weeks, you have one of these that is due, okay, after it has started. There are some that are more easy or difficult than others. I would say that the major hurdle is actually the second one, okay? Second and third one. If you go past the second and third assignment and you do it pretty well, the fourth and fifth, I wouldn't say are easy, but if you do a good job in assignment number 2 and 3, assignment 4 and 5 are somehow easier to achieve than 2 and 3 themselves. So it's not the fact that, you know, very often when you have a project in a course, you know, the amount of work is increasing toward the end. That's not what's going to happen with this project. I would say that the most amount of work is going to be on assignment 2 and 3. We will talk extensively about that later as to why and so on and what to avoid to make sure that you don't get stuck in these 2 assignments. That's very often what happens in this course. Some of the students get tangled in the details of assignment 2 and 3, and then that makes their grades not so good for assignment 4 and 5. So each of these assignments are graded by the markers, as I pointed out before. Please go to the web page and the Moodle page to see who they are. So you will have to do a presentation to the markers using a grading scheme that I will provide you before the actual presentation, so that you know upon which factors you'll be graded. The presentations will all be done on Zoom, independently on if we are online or not, because the reality is that this is what most works the best. That's what I've observed with this now 2-year situation that we've endured with the COVID situation. Okay, so for each of these assignments here, you have to submit them independently, and then you do a presentation where you show the capacity, whether or not you're meeting the requirements of your assignment. Note that one of the difficulties of such a project is that essentially it is incremental development. For example, the syntactic analyzer or your parser is using your lexical analyzer. The abstract syntax tree generation is using the parser. Semantic analysis is using all of this, and the code generation is using all the preceding. So one of the things that happens is that the students that get in trouble are students that are somehow messy programmers. Or very often you have goodwill, and then you want your programs to be well organized, but then time gets in the way, and then you do messy changes as you go and so on. So very often when students get in trouble, it's because their code is getting messy. And then as you want to increment on messy code, it has a tendency to get even more messy. So you see that here, if you are in this cycle here, very often when people get to assignment number 3, their code has become very hard to understand and to increment upon. Okay, so if I have one advice to give you is to always be careful to do some kind of refactoring of your code as you are to start a new assignment, to make sure that your code does not get too much of a tangle, which is hard to deal with for the next phase. And then at the end, separately from the presentation of the last assignment, you will have to do a final presentation, which is going to be with me, which is going to be much longer than any of those here, where I will actually check that everything is working according to what I've stated in the assignment handouts. As I pointed out before, Complete Compiler is a very complex and large program. Even for this simple compiler that you will do, this is still a very complex and large program. So even if you are an excellent programmer, doing this project will push your limits. Okay? I've never seen anyone in this course telling me that this was easy. A lot of people like a challenge as a programmer and have a lot of fun doing it, but that does not mean that this is an easy thing to do. Okay? It is a difficult project, and there's a lot of work involved. So that's probably the main warning for this course. Some students often send me an email, oh, I'm taking 5 courses and I have my capstone and so on over these. Should I take your course? It just depends on what kind of worker you are, how efficient you are as a programmer. But I would not advise that you take this course if you have many other intensive courses in your schedule. It's up to you, but my advice, what I'm telling you here is that it is a lot of work. Another interesting aspect, well, or a warning, depending on what side you are, is that this course is also using many elements of theory of computer science. So there's a population of students that don't really like theory or don't see the use of theory. So if you don't like theory, possibly you're not going to like this course that much. However, what is nice of this course is that it actually shows you the theory or reminds you of the theory that you may already know and shows you a very practical use of it. So somehow, if you don't see the point in theory at all, you may take this course and somehow reconcile yourself with theory and say, to understand that it is actually pretty useful. which it is, in fact. So all in all, this project will probably be the largest and the most complex program that you will have ever written. Okay. So yes, it is a lot of work, but also the vast majority of students, a lot of feedback I get at the end of this course is, thank you, this was a lot of work, but this was very rewarding and very interesting. That's the general feeling that I get at the end. There is also a lot of students that will drop the course over the course of the semester. Okay, so I guess the main thing that you're waiting for me to talk about is about what's going to happen with online teaching. So as you may know, we thought we were going back to full in-person. I was pretty much having good expectations about this, but then in late December, things went for the worse again. And then we've been told to start the semester online. Okay. Now, the thing is that nor does Concordia, nor does the government, nor does anyone for a fact know what is going to happen. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that we're going to start, I believe, with at least the first 2 or 3 weeks of teaching. I believe first 3 weeks of teaching until the end of January is going to be online. Then hopefully we'll get some clear statement as to when we should expect to start again after that. Now, we don't know how the situation is going to evolve with the COVID. Nobody knows again. So we will see what happens. So what is happening, what I'm telling you is happening. I've set up everything so that it's possible that we'll go online until the end of the semester. Everything is already set up for this. But everything is also set up so that we can, at any point in time, start to go in person. Okay. Now, there was also last semester, we were somehow hybrid mode, in person and online. That's what I did actually in my other courses last semester. So I did half of my lectures online and half or another lecture in person. So we'll see how it goes, but that's possible because there are some students, even if we say we're going back in person, there are some students that are reluctant to go in person for obvious reasons. But there are also some students that really want to be in person, that are not doing well with online teaching. I can understand that too. So that's why I'm flexible and I'm going to try to accommodate people. Even if we're going back in person, I'm going to still accommodate the people that want to stay online. So it's going to be flexible and accommodating to whatever you want to be in person or online, even if we go back in person. And let's be realistic also, even if we go back in person, we are told to go back in person. It is possible it is going to go to the worse again with the COVID, in which case we're going to go back again to online. So I've organized the course so that it's flexible and we can, continue seamlessly even if it goes on and on, off and on, online to in person. So my point here is, all in all, in saying that we will be for sure online until the end of January, and then we will see how it goes. And I'm organized to actually deliver the course independently of whether this is online or in person after that. Now, how does this work for the lectures? So you may have seen that I have videos that have been prepared last year for this course. I'm reusing these videos. I may change some of these videos, but this course does not change very much over time. It does change, but not very much. So I'm going to reuse the videos I produced last year. They're already available. So that's how it's going to work for the lectures, is that I'm going to assume that before every lecture that you've listened to the video for this week, okay, that presents the material for the week. Then during the lecture time, whether it's online or in person, essentially I'm going to go over the material that was covered in the slides and the video, and then quickly go over the material, point out the I was about to say interesting or most highlights of the material that is covered by the video and the slides. And then I'm going to answer questions you may have about the material. Very often in the lectures, you will see that there are some exercises or problems that I'm following. So that's, in most cases, that's what I'm going to go over again, just to make sure that people understand correctly. So the problems that I'm presenting are always problems somehow that you have to, or algorithms that you have to implement in your assignments. Okay, that's why they are it's important that you understand them properly. So they are explained in the video, slides are explaining them, and then when you come to the lecture, I'm going to go over these exercises, of course, more quickly than in the video, and then I will be expecting that you have some questions about them. And then at every lecture, I'm going to open the floor for questions on the project. Talk a little bit more about specific aspects of the implementation, so as to guide you in the current phase that we are currently at, and every week that we are proceeding in this, as we are proceeding in the semester. For the labs, it will essentially be the same. So the labs, what is the purpose of the labs? The lab instructors are there to somehow help you with the development of the current phase of the compiler. So you should look at the lab schedule, which is on the Modal page and on my web page, which is telling you what are the topics that are being presented in every week of the lab. And of course, these topics are in sync with the current phase of the compiler that you are implementing. Okay, so it's giving you some technical information as to what is it that you have to do in the current phase for each of the labs. You will see also that there are some lab sessions that are listed as programmer on duty. What that means here is that for these lab sessions, the lab instructor does not present anything. It's basically there to just answer your questions related to the project. So as you see here, it will actually proceed in the same way as for the lectures. You will have videos that's going to be posted on Modal and on my webpage, which is essentially one of the two lab instructors will record a video describing the technical aspects that they want to highlight to help you for the implementation of the current phase of the compiler. Then it will be expected that you listen to this video before going to the lab, and then exactly as I described here, what's going to happen in the lab when you go there is that lab instructor will go quickly over the material, and then will expect that you have some questions about this material and or about problems that you may currently encounter in the development of your project. Okay, so again, if you have some questions about how exactly online teaching is going to happen, the schedule, so on, please come to the Zoom session for the first lecture, and we will discuss that for sure. Other part of the online teaching is the examination. So I will do the exam as a Modal quiz. That's one thing I have decided. Even if we would be in person, I'm gonna push to have a Modal quiz as the exam. It's possible that the university will push against that. I'm gonna try to push in favor of using Modal quiz. But there's also some issues about cheating when you take a modal quiz. You can be communicating with one another. I'm not in favor of doing invigilation or things like this. I did 2 such Moodle quizzes for my final exams, and I did not observe that there was a lot of cheating or much higher average compared to what I used to have. So the exam will be a Moodle quiz for this semester. Okay. So what is this exam doing? What is it covering? It actually covers all the material presented in all the lectures and labs. So the objective of this examination is that to test that you have actually absorbed the material that was presented in the lectures and the labs. It will be held in the regular final examination period, which is from April 19th to May 1st. As soon as I will know the exact date and time, I will announce it in class, and it will be posted on the Moodle page. Now, how will I communicate with you? I'm going to use the Moodle to actually communicate with you. So please set up your Moodle account so that if you receive a message, a Moodle message, so you can set it up so that when you receive a Moodle message, that it sends you an email. Okay. So there may be important information that I want to convey to the students. I'm going to use Moodle messages to send you information. So please set up your Moodle so that it alerts you that a message has been sent to you. Other communication, non-official communication. I also have my instructor's webpage. I can't consider that this is the official webpage. The official webpage is in fact the Moodle page. Okay. I will make sure that both of these are in sync always, that they always have the same information, but the official one is the Moodle page. There is also, if you look on the Moodle and on my webpage, there is a link to a Discord channel. So for those of you who know what that is, some of you I'm sure are already there. So there is a Discord server that is managed by some of the students in the faculty. There's thousands of people on this Discord server. There is a channel for this particular course. So there is a link to this Discord server on the Moodle page. If you want to register yourself, you're more than welcome. And I am on this server, and I'm very often going there to answer your questions. If you have some, I'll be more than happy to help you there too. But again, this is not an official. I'm gonna never just send information on Discord channel, like important information. If there is important things that I have to tell you, I'm going to use again a Moodle message. For the videos, for the online teaching, I'm using videos and I'm using Zoom. So for my videos are posted on my YouTube channel. They're not on UJA, they are on my YouTube channel. And the Moodle page, you will have links to the videos that are on the YouTube channel. For the lab videos, well, the thing is that I don't mind for my own videos to be public. That's why I have my YouTube channel. But fact of the matter is that I don't know whether the TAs mind or not if their videos, they want their videos to be public. So that's why we're using a UJA channel for this course, which is private to the students registered in the course. So for the lab videos, they are actually hosted on the course's UJA channel, for which you have a link also to all the videos on the Moodle page. For the online lectures and online labs, all the Zoom links are available on the Moodle page. At the top of the page, you have some links. Well, that's the end of the lecture anyway. Yes. Let's go back to that here. Oh, yes, if you go here on the Moodle page, and you see here, for example, Zoom. This is the Zoom channel I'm going to use for the lecture. This is the Zoom channel for my office hours. And this is the Zoom channels for each of the lab sessions. One thing I didn't say is about my office hours. The office hours are going to be on Wednesday from 10 to noon. So how it works, it's basically you come there. If you want to have a one-to-one discussion, the office hours are always one-to-one. So when you come to my office hours on Zoom, there is a waiting room. Students come, and then it's always, I'm taking one student, having a one-to-one discussion. And then when it's finished, I select the next one and so on and so forth. So this is a one-to-one discussions. So whatever you want to talk to me in private, please come to my office hours. If you, no matter what is the topic that you want to discuss. So I'll be there for you for 2 hours on Wednesday mornings. So that's about it for this lecture. So welcome to this course, and then I'll see you on Monday.